I'll be explaining in this video how you can use the Poké Radar route analysis document to help you effectively radar chain for shinies in Pokemon X and Y. The link to the document will be in the description of this video, so please open it up if you haven't already. This will be my abridged tutorial, so I will be assuming you already know all of the basics of radar chaining. If you have little to no knowledge of radar chaining, don't watch this video. Instead, please check out either my beginner video tutorial or my text tutorial. Both are linked here. Both tutorials are extremely comprehensive and cover all of the basics and more. Alright, just quickly before we start, make sure you haven't forgotten anything important before you start chaining. Make sure you have enough repels, have the Poké Radar registered and unregister all other key items. Make sure your lead Pokemon has enough PP and is strong enough for the route you are chaining. Get off your roller skates and do not touch the circle pad. Our goal is to encounter the same species of Pokemon with the Poké Radar 40 times in a row without breaking our chain at any point in order to reach maximum shiny odds. Here is a list of all of the things that can break your chain, and you can pause this video and read through this list if you think you need a reminder. First, we need to encounter a Pokemon to start our chain. Alright, we'll chain the Scatterbug. Now, scroll down to the route you are chaining in the route analysis document. So we're at route 2. First, pay attention to the diagram or diagrams under the recommended tile to reset when building chains heading. So the legend at the top of the route analysis document will explain what the different colored squares represent. So the green squares are grass, brown squares are anything that isn't grass. The blue square is the tile you are standing, or the tile the radar is being activated. And the pink, yellow, orange, and red squares represent the grass tiles in the spawnable area. So this is where the shaking patches can spawn. So the best piece of advice I can give to people who are struggling with radar chaining is to pick a reset tile. And whenever you need to reset the radar, do it at that tile as much as practically possible. This will make the overall chaining process way simpler and more efficient. So obviously I'm going to suggest you use my recommendations in the document for your reset tiles. My recommendations will give you the highest possible probability of spawning an ideal patch each reset, allowing you to chain more efficiently. So we're going to use this as our reset tile for this tutorial. So this tile is right here. So once you have picked your reset tile, what you want to do next is memorize where the ideal patches will be spawning relative to your reset tile. So the diagram split up the 9x9 tile spawnable area into 4 different colored zones. These zones are relevant because the odds that a Fast Shaker has of containing the chain Pokemon depends on which zone it spawns in. Fast Shakers that spawn in the red, in the 4 zone, have the highest possible probability of containing the chained Pokemon. If it spawns in the orange, the odds are a little bit lower. If it's in the yellow, the odds are lower again. And Fast Shakers that spawn right next to you in the 1 zone are pretty risky. So it's these tiles that we want to prioritize our eyes on every time we activate the radar. We want to prioritize our eyes on this sort of upside down L shape that's 1 tile away from the top edge and the right edge. We are looking for a Fast Shaker to generate on one of those tiles, as well as a clear path to get to it. Like this patch right here. That was a Fast Shaker, and it was in the 4 zone. It was on that tile right there. So this patch is ideal. This should be a Scatterbug. And it is. When the grass shakes after this encounter, our main priority will be looking for a clear path back to our reset tile. Alright, back we go. And reset here. This patch is ideal as well. That was a fast shaker, and that was here. So as you can see, chaining like this is very simple and effective, since you will always know exactly where to look for the ideal patches. You don't need to worry about counting steps, and it will be much less likely for you to miss a good patch when one spawns. So the odds of an ideal patch spawning when resetting here is around 24%. So once in every 4 or so resets on average, you should expect to get one. If you are consistently doing more resets than that, it probably means you're ignoring a lot of good patches, which isn't a huge deal. It will get easier as you practice more. And practice really is key with radar chaining. The more you practice, the smoother your chaining will become. The fast shaker here spawned on this tile. It's in the orange, so it's a 3. I'm going to take this patch. So 3-zone fast shakers like this are less than ideal, but they do still have a very decent chance of containing the chain Pokemon, but the odds are a bit lower. So you can take a few of them when building your chain if you're okay with taking some risks. Keep in mind, if you take too many 3s, one of them is bound to break your chain at some point. And the same logic applies to edge patches. And I'll discuss edge patches in a bit. If you're away from your reset tile and you saw a fast shaker that you thought was a 4, but you weren't sure, walk 4 steps towards it in one direction, as in 1, 2, 3, 4. And after walking those 4 steps and you're standing in the same column or row as the patch, you can be sure that it was an ideal patch. So I walked 4 steps left and I'm standing in the same column as this patch here, so this patch was a 4 and it is an ideal patch. So the 4 was a medium shaker, we definitely want to avoid that. I want to make it very clear that shaking grass type is always the most important factor when choosing patches to build your chain. Only step into fast shaking grass, avoid all the slower shaking grass. Stepping into medium shakers is always the worst kind of risk. You are better off taking a 1-zone fast shaker than a 4-zone medium shaker. One, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this fast shaker here is a 4. However, since it spawned on the very edge of the field of grass, it is less than ideal. So edge patches do not affect the probability of the correct Pokemon showing up, so this patch has the same odds of containing a Scatterbug as any other 4-zone fast shaker. So this should be a Scatterbug. And it is. However, there is still a chance our chain may break here. So edge patches work like this. When the radar is activated, the game always generates 5 shaking grass patches somewhere in the 9x9 tile area around the tile you are standing, but you will often see less than 5 shake if some had generated where there is no grass. If the radar activates right on the edge of a field, now so much of the spawnable area falls outside of the field of grass that it is actually possible that all 5 will generate outside. And if that happens, no grass will shake and your chain will just break. So if an edge patch breaks your chain, this will happen after the encounter, when the radar automatically activates. Edge patch chain breaks are generally pretty unlikely, so you can take a few edges to build your chain if you're okay with taking a few risks. The odds that edge patches have of breaking your chain can be found here. So for each route in the document, there will be an edge patch analysis link. If you click this link, it will open up a Google slideshow document that will look like this. I find the easiest way to navigate these is just to hold down the up and down arrow keys. This will advance the slides super fast so you can quickly get to the edge that you want to check. The tile we are currently on is this one. So when the radar automatically activates after this encounter, there will be approximately a 1.5% or 1 in 67 chance of 0 patches shaking, hence our chain breaking. So the odds are in our favor here, so I'm going to KO this scatterbug, and we'll look at how many patches shake after the encounter. Okay, so we got 2 patches shaking, so our chain is still good. You only need 1 patch to shake to keep your chain going. Your chain only breaks if 0 shake. So edge patches aren't really that relevant for this chaining strategy at Route 2, but if you are chaining in some of the more difficult routes, edge patches will be practically unavoidable and you will have to risk them in order to build your chain at a reasonable rate. And you can use these edge patch documents to quantify the risk and make sure you are taking the safer edges as your chain length gets higher. And obviously these odds also apply to manually resetting the radar on edges. For the most part, don't reset on edges. There is very rarely any good reason to do that, and it will just risk breaking your chain. I've been saying that 4-zone fast shakers are ideal patches and have the highest probability of containing the chain Pokemon, and while the odds are very high, it is not 100%. Your chains will occasionally break due to the wrong species of Pokemon showing up in an ideal patch, and if you radar chain a lot, it will happen a lot. So if you want to shiny hunt with the Poké radar, you have to accept that as an inevitable fact, that sometimes your chains will just break even though you did nothing wrong. But understand, if there was a way to guarantee 40 chains every attempt, it would probably make radar shinies too easy to get, and shinies are supposed to be rare. As shiny hunters, we are always at the complete mercy of the RNG, and radar chaining is no exception to that. But patience is key. Just like all other forms of shiny hunting, you have to maintain your patience, otherwise you will never get any shinies. And it's fine to take breaks if you need to, but try not to give up on your radar hunts. And it's common to hear people talk about radar in terms of right and wrong patches, but that isn't at all how radar works. You need to think about it in terms of probabilities. No patch is 100%, and unless it's a slow shaker that contains nothing, no patch is 0% either. Every patch just has a certain probability of containing the chained Pokemon. And what we are really doing when radar chaining is trying to skew those probabilities in our favor as much as possible. So you could just keep stepping into the first fast shakers you see every time, and yes, the correct Pokemon will be showing up more often than not, but you will find it very difficult to reliably make it all the way to 40 by doing that. In order to reliably make it to 40, you really need to take ideal patches the most often. Here's our 40th Scatterbug. So at a 40 chain, there is no need to chain any more encounters as our shiny odds are now maximized. You can chain more encounters if you want, but your shiny odds will not get any better. So all we should be doing now is resetting the radar over and over until we find a shiny patch. So at a chain of 40, your shiny patch odds will be 1 in 200 per patch that spawns. The odds per reset, however, will depend entirely on where you are resetting. For each route, as well as a recommended reset tile for building chains, there will also be a recommended reset tile for shiny patch. So reset there to maximize your odds. So at Route 2, our shiny patch odds at a 40 chain will be approximately 1 in 46 per reset if we reset at this tile. These odds also apply during fast music. If you do get fast music during your chain and want to maximize your chance of getting a shiny patch, what you should do is stop entering any patches, switch your reset tile to the one that maximizes shiny patch odds, and keep resetting there until fast music ends. Here's our shiny patch. So the sparkles always appear a bit lower than the patch itself, so the patch just above the sparkles is our shiny patch. And here's our successfully chained shiny Scatterbug. Alright, that will conclude this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your radar hunts.